Good morning and welcome to Radio Friends on this Monday, first day of June 2020. It's hard to believe that it's June already in this new year. And on the phone with us, I've got Lindsay Lopez from the Food Bank of Central and Northeast Missouri. Good morning, Lindsay.
Good morning, Paul.
This has been a really trying time for you and everybody at the food bank, correct?
It has. I've been in this role 5.5 years now, and we've never seen the kind of changes and impact that we are seeing right now. We're serving more people than we have before, and many people for the first time during this pandemic.
You know, you said you've been in it 5 years, and throughout those 5 years, obviously you've helped literally thousands and thousands of people and families. But when you talk about the situation that not just our county or our city, our state, but the whole country is in right now, it's unparalleled. So
it really is.
How do you wake up each day and try to move forward?
You know, honestly, Paul, we just take it one day at a time, sometimes 1 hour at a time. As you know, we are part of the Feeding America network of more than 200 food banks nationwide, and that network is important because we get about 80% of our food through those resources. They're forming those broader partnerships with manufacturers, growers, and retailers and the like. They are accustomed to a natural disaster happening, and so when that happens, it's typically in a confined area, a sustained area, and so all of those food banks will help out in some capacity. But the food banks across the country have never dealt with a national disaster, so we're dealing with issues that have impacted the food supply chain, for example, and all of us are in the same situation, trying to just be creative with the challenges that each day brings.
What has been the biggest challenge? What has been the biggest surprise to you?
Gosh, that's a tough question. Things that are not a surprise. During normal circumstances, we serve over 100,000 people every single month. We are seeing those numbers increasing, spiking, and that is not surprising to us. I think the biggest surprise is the fact that these food supply chains across the country are impacting what local consumers see when they go into the grocery store, but they're impacting us as a food banking network as well. And so we're having to adapt and be really creative in our approach to everything that we do. One thing that I would also say is surprising and not surprising both. You know, I've always said that this community is so incredibly philanthropic. The 32 counties that we serve, so many people are generous with their time and their resources. But what we've seen during this situation, even when people's own livelihoods are at stake, in some cases, people are stepping up. They want to help us in some capacity, even if it is with a small contribution. And that has just been so incredibly inspiring to see.
So it's safe to say then that your contributions have gone up during this pandemic.
You know, we saw this increase in media attention nationally with long lines at food banks, and while that's a horrible situation to be in, it gave food banks a national platform. It gave us an opportunity to educate our communities that we serve about the fact that food insecurity is an issue, and in a situation like that, even more of an issue. So we did see a spike in contributions initially. That's leveled off. The media attention has kind of gone away. But it really speaks to what food banks do. We're in it for the long haul. We will continue to make sure that we are dedicated to our mission, that we're providing food to anybody who needs it in the 32 counties that we serve for as long as it takes.
Now, you said you have witnessed a spike in needs. How many people a day would you say, in general, that you're serving during this pandemic?
I can't give you specific numbers, and the reason for that, again, I know I've said we're using the term creative approaches. We've relaxed some of the guidelines that we use for social distancing purposes in terms of how we count people. So we know definitely we are serving more people than we have in the past. We know we're serving many people for the first time, people who have never had to utilize a pantry in the past. But in terms of the specific numbers, I can't give you those. Again, we serve under normal circumstances more than 100,000 people every single month, and we've seen an absolute increase in the number of people that we're serving. Some of the things that we're doing too, we've created pop-up mobile pantries, what we're calling fresh mobile pantries, so that we are going directly into areas that we've not been to in the past, so that we can have a presence and get food into the hands of people who need it.
So people listening to us right now, if they want to help, and we're going into summertime when gardens will be producing. Obviously, it's good. It's wonderful to bring fresh produce down to the food bank, to the pantries. But is the best way to help really by donating money?
Funds will always be the best way to help us, and that is because of our purchasing power. We can take $1 and turn that into $21 worth of groceries. I will also say that during this time with certain entities that are trying to help us, especially from a governmental perspective, we're seeing an influx of produce right now. So we're not going to tell people who have those gardens that are going to start producing not to bring us the produce. We love to have it. Just know that we have an influx of that right now. And those perishable food items, it's difficult for us sometimes to have enough cooler and freezer storage space to be able to house those. So we would just encourage people to call us in advance if they want to make a contribution of produce.
You got that. But the best thing to do is donate money. What about donating time?
So we have had to suspend our volunteer operations, unfortunately, when all of this began, and we're watching all of the guidelines closely to see when we can bring those volunteers back, because we truly treasure them. In a typical year, more than 15,000 volunteers help the food bank in some capacity. That, in effect, more than doubles our workforce, and the cost savings to us is over $2.7 million, again, in a typical year. So right now, we miss those volunteers. We're thrilled, though, that we have had the National Guard step up to help us in the interim. We've had some displaced workers from the service industry that we've been able to hire on a temporary basis through a grant that we were provided. So it's filling in for the volunteers that we typically would have, but we can't wait to get our regular volunteers back. We miss them terribly.
Lindsay, thank you so much for coming by. We're out of time today, but if people want to give, it's the Food Bank for Central and Northeast Missouri. And stay healthy, will you please? And we'll get you back again real soon.
Thank you. Be well, Paul.